Imagine being denied the first-class seat you paid for, simply because of how you look. That's exactly what happened to one black woman at JFK Airport. But here's the gripping twist: she wasn't just any passenger. Beneath her unassuming demeanor was an undercover federal investigator with the power to bring an entire airline to its knees. Tensions flared, prejudice surfaced, and a quiet battle was about to erupt. What secrets would she uncover? How would the airline face the consequences? Stay tuned to discover the shocking conclusion to this intense confrontation. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment letting us know your thoughts. A whirlwind of tension crept into the bustling terminal at John F. Kennedy International Airport as an accomplished yet unassuming black woman, Maya Johnson, prepared to board her flight. Her posture was poised, her eyes set on the entrance to the jet bridge, and her ticket clearly displayed first class, seat 3A. But from the moment she stepped into view, hushed murmurs rippled among certain onlookers who questioned whether she belonged in that exclusive cabin. Little did anyone know, this poised traveler carried a hidden purpose and an authority that could bring giants to their knees. Her quiet resolve was about to unleash a storm no one saw coming. The crisp morning light bounced off the gleaming floors of JFK's Terminal 8, revealing a scene both chaotic and exhilarating. Travelers lugged suitcases, children clutched stuffed animals, and airport staff bustled about. Amid the throng, Maya Johnson stepped gingerly off the escalator. She wore a simple but elegant navy blue pantsuit and carried herself with a calm precision that hinted at intense self-control. Maya was in her early 30s, her hair pinned back in a neat low bun. She was not one to draw attention, preferring to navigate spaces with a quiet grace. As she walked through the terminal, no extraneous movements belied her intent. Everything she did, tucking her ID into an inside pocket, handing her ticket to the attendant, gently placing her carry-on in the overhead bin once on board, was done with deliberate care. Her ticket was for first class on an American Airlines flight bound for Los Angeles. The seat had been purchased in her name through a legitimate reservation system, with no special arrangement signifying who she truly was. If all went as planned, nobody on this trip would have any clue about her secondary identity. That is, unless they forced her hand. Maya needed a moment to collect her thoughts before checking in. She found a corner by a large column near the security checkpoint, quickly reviewing her mental checklist. She confirmed the internal memos she had been scanning the night before, each highlighting subtle forms of harassment reported by travelers across various airlines. This was part of her official mission, investigating allegations of discriminatory practices against people of color, including preferential treatment for certain passengers while others were belittled or actively barred from upgrades. She glanced up at the overhead sign that read Security Checkpoint. With her official ID stowed safely in her hidden wallet, no one would suspect that she was, in fact, a senior investigator for the U.S. Department of Transportation, a federal auditor working undercover to evaluate airline compliance with anti-discrimination laws. She had a tough job to do, and the first step was always the same: blend in, watch, and only reveal her official capacity if absolutely necessary. Shortly after clearing security without any fuss, Maya approached Gate 23B, where the overhead display flashed Flight AA-198 to Los Angeles. She was early, boarding wasn't scheduled to begin for another 20 minutes. Sitting down in the waiting area, she noticed an older couple whispering to each other. The man discreetly looked over at her, then turned back to his wife with a raised eyebrow. Their subtle side glances might have meant nothing, but in Maya's line of work, every flicker of attention was catalogued. As the minutes passed, more passengers crowded the gate. The gate agent, a woman named Brenda Smith with sharp features and a tidy updo, began arranging the microphone and paperwork. Then it happened, a small event Maya had become all too accustomed to. The gate agent's eyes paused on Maya longer than necessary, scanning her from head to toe. There was no immediate hostility, just silent, focused scrutiny. When first-class boarding was announced, Maya calmly stood and moved to the front of the line, ticket in hand. The gate agent's smile froze the moment she saw the zone indicated on Maya's boarding pass. Maya tried not to bristle at the sudden coldness. "Ma'am," the gate agent said, tapping at her keyboard as if searching for an error. Your seat says 3A in first class. Is that correct? Yes, that's correct, Maya replied, nodding politely. She held out her boarding pass and ID once more. Is there an issue? I need to check something. Could you step aside, please? The agent's request was delivered with the same plastic courtesy, but Maya detected the underlying tension. She obliged, stepping out of the line as other first-class passengers walked by, handing over their tickets without delay. A man in a tailored suit right behind her received a warm smile, his pass scanned in seconds. Another woman with stylish sunglasses had her pass accepted without delay. Then the gate agent turned back to Maya. Could I see your ID again? She asked, voice dripping with caution. Her eyes seemed to say, I don't believe you. Maya complied. The agent studied them for an inordinate amount of time, typed furiously into the computer, and finally forced a stiff grin. Okay, it looks like your reservation is in order, she said. You can board. That initial moment of tension, however short, set the stage. Maya's heart sank as she walked down the jet bridge. In her experience, such a subtle challenge often heralded bigger obstacles. Like clockwork, trouble usually escalated. She mentally prepared herself. Entering the pristine first-class cabin, Maya found seat 3A, plush, wide, precisely the seat she'd booked. She stowed her carry-on and eased into the soft leather. A sense of mild relief washed over her. Maybe this flight would be smooth after all. But a mere 5 minutes later, just as she was about to clip her seatbelt, the same gate agent, Brenda Smith, marched down the aisle, accompanied by a stern-looking flight attendant named Linda Ramirez. Their eyes locked onto Maya, and the gate agent pointed almost accusingly. Ms. Johnson, Brenda said firmly, glancing at her notes. There's been a change in seat assignments. I'm afraid we'll need you to move to coach. A subtle gasp came from a nearby passenger. Maya's pulse quickened, but her face remained an unreadable mask. I'm sorry, there must be a mistake. I have a confirmed first-class ticket for seat 3A. Unfortunately, Linda Ramirez chimed in, we've had a situation where this seat was double-booked for a premium passenger. We're going to have to reassign your seat. Maya's mind went into overdrive. Double bookings happened, sure, but there was a protocol. Forcibly moving someone already seated with a valid boarding pass was highly unusual. She studied Linda's face, a flicker of uncertainty suggested she might be relying on Brenda for direction. Maya cleared her throat, maintaining composure. You're asking me to move even though I purchased this seat in advance and there was no mention of an overbooking at the gate? Has there been an equipment change or any announcements? No announcements, but we need your seat, Brenda insisted, her tone implying the conversation was over. We'll find you something in economy. Maya squared her shoulders. She wasn't about to let this go unchallenged, not just for her convenience, but because the scenario reeked of the prejudice she was tasked with uncovering. She decided to push back just enough. I'm sorry, she said, I have a fully paid first-class ticket. If there truly is an issue, may I see the documentation or speak to a supervisor? I'm aware of airline policy, and this situation seems irregular. The gate agent frowned. Other first-class passengers pretended not to listen, but their faces betrayed curiosity. The older couple from the waiting area turned around to watch. We are the authority here, Brenda snapped, cheeks reddening slightly. We've told you the seat is being given to another passenger. You can comply and move to economy, or you can catch another flight. Those are your options, Ms. Johnson. Maya paused, choosing her words carefully. She could escalate by showing her credentials, but revealing her identity too soon might compromise the investigation. She decided on a different approach. Is that your final decision? Because I'd really like to speak with the lead flight attendant or the pilot if this is a misunderstanding. You can file a complaint with customer service once we land, Brenda said coldly. We're out of time. We need this resolved now. Maya took a measured breath. Out of the corner of her eye, she noticed a man in a crisp business suit standing at the front of the cabin, apparently waiting to claim 3A. His gaze flicked from Maya to the flight crew, seemingly agitated. This passenger was white, wearing an expensive watch. "Excuse me," Maya addressed him softly. "Did you also book 3A?" He looked slightly surprised. "Yes," he said simply, crossing his arms. "Paid extra for it at check-in this morning." Maya nodded politely. Maybe it was an honest overbooking, though typically the airline would compensate or offer another seat, not evict the current occupant. Yet here she was, forced out, seemingly because the crew believed she was less deserving. She could almost see the gears turning in Brenda's mind. They assumed she didn't pay, or that a professional-looking white man must be the rightful occupant. It stung, but Maya had a job to do. She grabbed her bag from the overhead compartment, her expression revealing nothing. Brenda exhaled with relief, but Maya's mind was already strategizing. This was precisely the kind of scenario she was investigating. Moments later, Maya found herself in row 25, squeezed into a middle seat in economy. The overhead bin was full, so she had to stow her carry-on several rows back. She reminded herself to stay calm. Her job was to document every detail. She discreetly noted the flight number, time, seat change, and the gate agent's name, Brenda Smith. She also jotted down the flight attendant's name tag, Linda Ramirez. This was her methodology: observe, gather evidence, and watch how the airline handled it. If they truly discriminated, there would be accountability. The Department of Transportation took such allegations seriously. As she sank into the cramped seat, her emotions oscillated between professional resolve and personal disappointment. She felt the humiliation creeping in, the sting of being singled out and told, "You don't belong here." The plane began taxiing. Maya tried to focus. She had a long flight ahead. 40 minutes into the flight, passengers in economy were settling in. Maya jotted down observations: the rushed, curt interactions of the coach flight attendant, an older black woman ignored despite asking for a blanket multiple times. It wasn't blatant racism, but it was the sort of pattern that, viewed collectively, pointed to potential bias. Unexpectedly, a ripple of conversation swept down the aisle. A tall, visibly flustered man wearing a pilot's uniform minus the jacket was making his way toward Maya. She recognized him as the plane's Captain Evans. Next to him was the lead flight attendant, a middle-aged Latina woman named Maria, who looked anxious. "Maya Johnson?" Captain Evans said, scanning the row numbers. When he spotted her, he gave a polite nod. "May we speak with you for a moment?" Maya tensed. "Certainly," she replied quietly, rising carefully. She followed them toward the small galley area behind first class. "How can I help you?" The captain cleared his throat. "I understand you had an issue with your seat in first class. There seems to be some confusion." Maya resisted the urge to laugh at the understatement. "Yes, it appears I was reassigned despite having a confirmed ticket. The gate agent indicated my seat was double booked." Maria, the lead flight attendant, looked apologetic. "We just discovered the situation. Normally, if there's an overbooking in first class, we handle it before boarding. I'm trying to figure out how it was handled at the gate." The agent in question, well, she left the aircraft already. Maya tilted her head, feigning mild confusion but inwardly processing every word. "I was told by the gate agent and a flight attendant named Linda that I had to move because a premium passenger needed the seat. There was no mention of compensation or an apology." Captain Evans nodded grimly. "I'm concerned about that. We have protocols, and it seems they might not have been followed." Maria interjected, "We do have another seat in first class available, 5C. We'd like to offer it to you now, with our sincere apologies." Maya paused. Returning to first class would allow her to observe more, yet she wondered if this abrupt about-face was merely damage control. "Thank you," she said carefully. "But I'm curious, why was I singled out in the first place? and why am I being offered a seat now? The captain and flight attendant exchanged a glance. I'm trying to figure that out myself, the captain admitted. Could have been an honest mistake, or something else. Either way, we want to make it right. Please accept 5C. Maya gave a small nod, still not revealing her identity. All right, I'll accept the seat. But I do have concerns I intend to address after the flight. Understood, Maria replied, sounding relieved. Maya returned to economy to gather her belongings. Settling into seat 5C, she exhaled. First class was indeed more spacious. She quickly took stock of the cabin. Despite the plush surroundings, the tension refused to subside. She suspected the crew was now aware something deeper was going on. Shortly after, Linda Ramirez, the flight attendant who had escorted her out earlier, approached, face pale with worry. Ms. Johnson, she began quietly, I'm sorry if there was any confusion earlier. I thought there was an overbooked seat and I was following instructions from the gate agent. Maya looked up, affixing a polite but distant expression. I understand. Thank you for your concern. Please let me know if there's anything I can do. Would you like a complimentary beverage? Maya nodded, deciding to test the courtesy. A glass of champagne would be lovely. I'll bring that right away, Linda responded, nearly bumping into a seat in her haste. Once alone, Maya tapped a note into her phone. Flight attendant Linda now apologetic, claims instructions came from gate agent. Potential scapegoating or actual confusion? Her mind reeled. She recalled passenger complaints, mostly from minority travelers, about being bumped or told they shouldn't be in first class. The stories were eerily similar. Was this blatant racial profiling disguised as booking errors? Another flight attendant brought the champagne. Maya sipped it, her gaze wandering. The man now in 3A was engrossed in his laptop. The older couple who had stared earlier were dozing. Time seemed to slow. Suddenly, her phone buzzed. It was from her fellow investigator, David Chen, stationed in another part of the plane. David, 12:47 p.m., heard you got bumped to coach. Everything okay? Overheard commotion up front. David, 12:49 p.m., might have new intel from steward in my section. Let's meet once we land. Maya, 12:50 p.m., I'm back in first now. Captain intervened. We'll talk after landing. David was working the same case from a different angle. If he was hearing new intel, other passengers or crew might be voicing concerns. As meal service began, the aroma of roasted chicken filled the cabin. Maya was halfway through her pasta when loud voices reached her. She recognized Linda's. You were the one who insisted she moved. Linda hissed at another, older flight attendant, presumably a senior staff member named Susan Miller. I only followed your lead. Maya couldn't hear Susan's reply but caught Linda's frustrated retort, this is going to cost us big if she complains. Why did you even call the gate agent over? Maya chewed slowly, feigning disinterest. The conversation confirmed her suspicions, staff knew they'd mishandled it and feared a complaint. Then, a male voice shouted from the aisle behind her, don't you walk away from me. I want answers. She turned to see a passenger glaring at a flight attendant, face twisted in rage. I've been pressing the call button for 5 minutes. My wife needs help with an allergic reaction, and you're ignoring us. Time seemed to freeze. Passengers startled. Linda rushed over, looking panicked. Sir, I'm sorry, but... Enough apologies, the man roared. I saw you chatting up that passenger for the last 10 minutes, but my wife can't breathe. He gestured frantically to a woman slumped in her seat, face flushed and puffy. Maya immediately unfastened her seatbelt. Instinct took over. What did she eat? Maya asked quickly. She told them she was allergic to nuts, the husband stammered. They said they'd confirm her meal didn't have any, but she started feeling sick 15 minutes ago. Maya's adrenaline surged. "We need the flight attendants to call for medical assistance immediately," she said, scanning the overhead bins. "Does anyone have an EpiPen?" A man 2 rows forward stood up. "I have one in my bag." Linda scrambled to get on the intercom. "Is there a doctor on board?" "We have a medical emergency in row 6. The woman's breathing became more ragged. Maya knelt, feeling her rapid, thready pulse. Basic first aid training kicked in. This was anaphylaxis. The EpiPen arrived, and with trembling hands, the husband administered it. Within minutes, her breathing eased slightly. A collective sigh of relief rippled through the cabin. The woman would need medical attention upon landing, but the immediate crisis seemed stabilized. Linda was apologizing profusely. Susan Miller, the older flight attendant who had apparently made the meal assignment, was nowhere to be seen. In the aftermath, the husband glared at the crew. "You nearly killed her," he shouted. "She told you she was allergic, and you ignored it. Why does nobody listen to the people in these seats?" His outburst echoed a sentiment Maya had heard many times: certain staff paid less attention to certain passengers. Over the next 2 hours, the crew walked on eggshells. The pilot announced paramedics would meet them at the gate. Maya returned to her seat, unable to relax. The chaos highlighted systemic breakdowns, potential discrimination and failure to heed critical medical details. Suddenly, Linda slipped into the empty seat next to Maya. "Ms. Johnson," she said quietly, I need to talk to you. May we speak privately?" Maya glanced around. "Sure," she replied softly. In the galley again, Linda spoke urgently. "Look, I know you probably hate me, but it wasn't personal." The gate agent, Brenda, insisted. "She claimed you were on some watch list, or that your ticket was flagged as fraudulent. I didn't want to cause trouble. Then I found out none of that was true." Maya's stomach clenched. A watch list? Flagged ticket? Why would the gate agent think my ticket was fraudulent? Did she have proof? Linda shook her head. "No. She mentioned how people try to scam their way into these seats, but it didn't feel right. That's why I was so shaken when the captain got involved. He was furious." She admitted overhearing Brenda talking to Susan Miller about Maya, something like, "She's not going to get a free ride in first class on my watch." There it was, an implicit assumption that a black woman in first class must be cheating the system. Maya's heart pounded with anger and vindication. "I appreciate your honesty, Linda," Maya replied quietly. "If you're concerned about repercussions, speak with your union rep or a supervisor." Before parting, Maya planted a subtle hint: if you ever need to file a report, you should contact the Department of Transportation's Aviation Discrimination Hotline. Linda blinked in surprise but didn't question it. "I will," she murmured. "I promise." About an hour before landing, the plane hit turbulence. Trays rattled, overhead bins shook. Maya's mind drafted the report: unjust seat reassignment, blatant disregard for passenger safety, potential racially motivated assumptions by gate agent, inadequate medical emergency response. When the turbulence eased, the pilot announced their descent into Los Angeles. Maya noticed Susan Miller emerge, looking disheveled, avoiding eye contact. She overheard Susan mutter to another attendant, "I'm not taking the fall for that gate agent nonsense." The plane landed smoothly at LAX. Paramedics swiftly boarded to assist the woman with the allergic reaction. Her husband offered a tense nod to the crew as she was wheeled away. Maya gathered her belongings. She saw Linda conferring with the captain. Then David Chen materialized from the economy aisle, expression grave. They planned to debrief discreetly. Stepping off the plane, Maya felt the weight of what had transpired. The gate area was bustling. She spotted a man in a suit looking like an airline manager, waiting for the crew. Maya walked briskly toward baggage claim, where David waited. "You good?" he asked, handing her bottled water. "I'm fine," she replied. A lot happened up front. What about you? David exhaled slowly. Similar nonsense in the back. Watched at least 3 instances where they ignored people needing help. Everyone who got prompt service was white or obviously affluent. The others waited. The pattern was there. Maya took a drink. Linda, one of the FAs, basically admitted they were told to get me out because Brenda, the gate agent, thought my seat was a scam. Used the watch list excuse. David nodded grimly. Lines up with chatter I overheard. A passenger saw you forced out, claimed it looked like blatant discrimination. As travelers passed, David leaned in. What's our next move? Maya felt a surge of clarity. We file the report under our official credentials. Escalate to DOT enforcement. Recommend a formal inquiry. This flight gave us enough evidence. While waiting for luggage, Maya spotted Susan Miller strolling past. Maya seized the moment. Excuse me, Susan. Susan turned, dread crossing her face. Yes. I just wanted to let you know I'll be filing an official complaint about the seat incident, Maya said evenly. Susan's eyes widened. I was told your seat was a mistake, she said defensively. We get scammers sometimes. David stepped forward. You were so concerned about a scammer that you kicked a paying passenger out of first class after she was seated, with no compensation or explanation. Susan bristled. You don't understand. The gate agent said she was an unauthorized occupant. Maya remained poised. I had a valid boarding pass and ID. There was no reason to suspect me other than your own assumptions. Susan averted her eyes. Look, it's done, all right. She tried to pivot away. In addition to the complaint, Maya's words froze her. I'm also an investigator from the U.S. Department of Transportation. My colleague and I will be including any relevant statements in our official report. Do you wish to add anything now? Susan's mouth fell open. Tears welled. I had no idea. I was just following instructions. Please. Maya watched her tremble. I'll include your statement. But a federal inquiry is serious. If instructions were improper or discriminatory, now is the time to say so. Susan swallowed hard. I don't want to lose my job. David's voice was gentle. Honesty might actually help you. Come clean. Susan nodded, tears streaming. I'll do it. I'm sorry. She walked away, shoulders slumped. Later that evening, Maya settled into her hotel room in downtown Los Angeles, meticulously typing notes. A knock on the door revealed David with a pizza box. Figured you hadn't eaten, he said. Thanks, she murmured. He sank into a chair. Been on calls with the department. They want a preliminary report ASAP. Word traveled about the seat denial and the allergy fiasco. Maya took a slice. Word travels fast. They want to know if we suspect an ongoing pattern. I told them we have plenty of evidence indicating one. I'll finalize our notes tonight, Maya said. Then the department can decide how to proceed. Probably a formal hearing. Could lead to heavy fines, mandatory training, dismissals, David speculated. Hear anything else about Brenda Smith? David's mouth twisted. Found out from ground staff contact she has a history of complaints. Allegations of discriminatory behavior. Airline kept her on despite warnings. Maya's eyes narrowed. Unbelievable. Means the airline might face even more liability. They continued discussing, cross-referencing statements and policies. Eventually, David left. Maya stared at her reflection, proud of fighting for every mistreated passenger, yet feeling the emotional weight. Before turning off the lights, she sent a final email to her supervisor, subject line, urgent, possible pattern of discriminatory practices, American Airlines Flight AA-198 JFK to LAX. The next day, Maya and David met with American Airlines regional managers, Robert Davis and Emily Carter, in a bland conference room. "Thank you for meeting with us," Emily began with a practiced smile. "We understand there were concerns." Maya slid a folder across the table. "In addition to being passengers, Mr. Chen and I are federal auditors with the U.S. Department of Transportation. We've compiled numerous incidents of potential discrimination and policy violations, detailed here." Robert's face paled as he opened the folder. Emily leaned in, eyes flicking anxiously. "We take these matters very seriously," Robert said, clearing his throat. "But we do ask for fairness. Sometimes mistakes happen." David stayed calm. "Mistakes happen. But when the same mistakes disproportionately affect passengers of color, or are repeated by staff with prior complaints, that indicates systemic issues. We'd prefer cooperation." "We're prepared to cooperate fully," Emily said quickly. "We'll suspend gate agent Brenda Smith pending investigation and review the performance records of the flight attendants." Maya inclined her head. "We also witnessed an inadequate response to a medical emergency and multiple accounts of staff ignoring passengers. Are you prepared to address that?" "Yes, of course," Andrea swallowed. "That's unacceptable. We've documented enough to initiate a formal inquiry," Maya stated. "We'll be conducting interviews. We request the airline not interfere." "Understood," Robert pressed his lips together. "We'll cooperate. We'd like to keep this low profile." "We can't promise discretion if we uncover major violations," David countered. "The department's priority is accountability, not PR." Later that afternoon, Maya received a call from an unknown number. "This is Maya." A trembling female voice responded, "Hello, Ms. Johnson. This is Linda from yesterday's flight." "Yes, Linda. Are you all right?" Linda sighed. "Not really. Just got word they're interrogating me. Management wants me to say it was a misunderstanding. But I can't. Not when I know the truth." Maya felt respect for Linda. "I understand you want to give a statement that supports the truth." "Yes," Linda's voice quavered. "I've seen this happen before. Brenda has a reputation. I don't want to be part of that system anymore." "You're doing the right thing," Maya said. "I can put you in touch with our legal counsel at the DOT. You can provide a deposition under legal protections. No intimidation." Relief crackled through the phone. "That would be a huge weight off my shoulders." "Let's arrange it," Maya replied kindly. Over the next few weeks, American Airlines found itself under growing scrutiny. News outlets caught wind, spurred by social media posts. Hashtags demanded accountability. The DOT inquiry proceeded. Linda testified under oath, revealing Brenda specifically targeted Maya, claiming her kind never pays for first class. Susan reluctantly acknowledged Brenda used terms like "those people" for black passengers in premium cabins. Internal emails surfaced showing Brenda flagged Maya's reservation as fraudulent without evidence. The passenger whose wife suffered the allergic reaction filed a massive lawsuit for negligence. Before the DOT investigation even concluded, Brenda Smith was fired. Susan received a formal reprimand. Linda, once fearful, was ironically promoted after her testimony exposed serious flaws. It sent a clear message: ignoring discrimination was unethical and a financial nightmare. 6 weeks later, Maya walked through Chicago O'Hare, heading home. She wore the same unassuming pantsuit, carried the same carry-on, but her heart felt lighter. She passed through security, spotting a traveler stare too long at her first-class boarding pass. Maya smiled to herself. Old habits died hard, but she no longer felt the sting. As she neared her gate, she received a text from David. David, 10:25 a.m., latest verdict, airline fined $2 million for discrimination plus mandatory diversity training for all employees. Victory. Maya's lips curled into a grin. She typed back. Maya 10:26 a.m., it's a start. More battles to fight, but yes, this one's a win. Tucking her phone away, she looked at the gate agent, who offered a friendly smile upon scanning her ticket. No questions, no demands to step aside. Maya proceeded onto the jet bridge, head held high, every step a reminder that she was more than someone to be underestimated. She was an agent of change. Every once in a while, a moment of injustice ignites a fire. Maya's experience wasn't just a seat dispute, it was a catalyst revealing prejudices and systemic failures. Her identity as a federal investigator forced the airline to face a truth it had long sidestepped. The aftermath sent a shockwave of accountability through the aviation industry. When people of conscience stand firm, change becomes not just possible, but inevitable. This story really hits home, doesn't it? It's a powerful reminder that judging folks by appearance breeds real injustice, and often, the quietest person holds unexpected strength. Real change kicks off when someone bravely stands up against being mistreated, forcing flawed systems to face hard truths. It's about knowing your worth and demanding fairness, even when it feels like an uphill battle. If this story resonated with you, maybe sparked something, I'd genuinely love to hear about it in the comments below. Sharing these powerful narratives and our thoughts is how we connect and maybe even inspire change together. And hey, if you want to keep exploring stories like this one with me, hitting that like button and subscribing would mean a lot. It truly helps build our community. Let's keep the conversation going.